Okay, good afternoon, folks, and welcome to our first and hopefully only virtual meeting of the Town and Pomona Police Services Board. Everything seems to be working at the moment. John's face is a little blurry, but maybe that's just because I've been up since early this morning. So welcome to our new board member, Wayne Evans. It's up in my right corner there. And did you get sworn at yet, Wayne?
Yes, I did actually. Yeah. Fred helped me out there, got all that process done. So.
Okay, so these meetings are fairly informal, especially if we do have members of the public come, because from time to time, we do have question periods, and we invite them to interface with us, and we answer the questions as best we can. But as we go through, we'll advise you of anything that you need to do, or voting times, things like that. I see we lost John.
Yeah.
He doesn't.
Yeah, I appreciate that,
good.
Mike.
Okay, so is there anybody have any pecuniary interests or conflicts? So that would be yourself and myself, Wayne, and I don't have any. Yourself?
No, I don't.
Okay, so John's coming back here. So hi, John. Any conflicts or pecuniary interests? Pardon me?
I was just getting harmonic distortion, so I logged out.
Okay. Do you have any pecuniary or conflicts of interest today, John?
Nope.
Perfect. Okay, public question period. Since we have nobody wish to be part of our meeting today, we'll move past that. Any additions to the agenda that we have?
No, none for me.
Okay. Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve the agenda as it's been submitted? John, Wayne, all in favor? Opposed? Carried.
And I'll second that. Yep.
First vote, Wayne. Okay. Approval of the minutes of the meeting of Wednesday, February the 12th. I have one amendment I just noticed today on the third page, Cheyenne. We have February 12th, 2019, and it should be 2020. So can I have any other changes to the last set of minutes? Any questions from the last minutes? Okay, motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of February 12th. John Creelman, seconded by Wayne Evans, and all in favor, opposed, carried. Very good. Matters arising from the minutes. The one matter was the bylaw MOU update, and we did receive a copy today of the letter that went from the clerk through to the detachment. And was that acknowledged, Paul?
As far as I'm aware, Nikki has acknowledged it. So I just received a copy of that this afternoon from Cheyenne.
Okay, so that's a closed matter then from that. And any questions on that, Wayne or John?
No, none for me. No.
Okay. Ann, are you on the call now? I see AB showing up on my screen, but I can't hear you.
Oh, I'm here.
Okay. Okay. Welcome. OPP contract renewal update. I believe that's been executed now as well. So you're getting paid, Paul?
Yeah, we are very gracious for that. All the Nikki's wrote here is that the contract is at the government level and it's progressing along.
Right. It's slowed down by COVID, I'm sure.
Yes.
A lot of things process has been slowed down by that. The next matter from the minutes was the detachment board discussions. And I think we had a pretty fulsome discussion about that at the last meeting. But since then, there's been some other materials have come through from AMO. And John had some excellent comments on that. And I think, Wayne, you've had an opportunity to review that information as well.
Yes, I did. Yep. Yeah. All the information you passed over to me, I went through, so I'm up to date on that. Thanks.
Okay. So I don't think we're any further ahead on that. John, do you have any comments?
I think council has essentially agreed that we need to send the solicitor MPP a letter differentiating ourselves from other municipalities who may be enthusiastic about detachment boards. And our position essentially is twofold. Number one, we do policing a little bit differently here in Mono than other municipalities do with regard to their arrangements with the OPP. And number two, a detachment board that would involve Orangeville and Shelburne would probably for the first couple of years be completely overwhelmed by the transitional issues that are going to occur in the case of Orangeville, potentially Shelburne, in going to an OPP service. So I think council's alive to this, and we simply need to get the oar in the water. I take great exception to some of the AMO, and that's the Ontario Association of Municipalities, positions, namely that representatives on police boards should be either from the public or staff. I think that there is a role for members of council, and I think it should be up to individual councils as to who they choose to appoint. There is a fulsome debate about public appointments from the province. Sorry, Wayne, and welcome, Wayne, by the way. But
Thank you.
there is a body of thought out there that the province should not be appointing people, that it should be done directly by the municipal council. And there's probably a number of other things in the AMO position that and I've participated in some of their calls, and I just don't know where some of these ideas are coming from, quite frankly.
Okay, so we'll wait for our council to make an application or a note to the Solicitor General to put forward the concerns of the town.
And I'll push that as quickly as I can.
Great. Okay, any other discussion on the detachment board question? Okay, the next item is the airport road mobile signage discussion. So we noticed that the sign was missing, so I went after Scott Burns, and the sign's back. So I guess that we can, it's the long and the short of it. And they had used it for the pandemic information, but I expressed the fact that there's a greater need, and that's been sort of proven in the last couple of days because we've had another fatality at Fifth Line and Airport Road, didn't we, there, Paul? Motorcycle?
We did, yeah. I'm the investigating officer for that as well.
Yeah. So anyway, the sign's back, and he's telling us that he will make every attempt to keep it there. John, go ahead.
Some of the pixels are broken, so the messaging is coming through, but only in part. And some of the messaging did indeed deal with social distancing, but I noticed the other day that they'd taken that down and they'd put up the dire language about speeding and so forth. But again, the pixels or the message is broken to the extent that you can only read certain letters.
Okay. Okay, and I trust they're aware of that, or should we send a note off to Scott Martin?
I think we should let Scott know about it.
Yeah, okay, I'll send him an email. Pixels, okay, perfect. Okay, now to our illustrious secretary for the alarm report, Shan.
Okay, so I logged the false alarms from January until the end of May. No, sorry, the end of April. We had 43 alarms total. 42 were first offenses and 1 was the second offense. All 43 residents have been sent letters. I only had 1 response back, which was a homeowner who has since sold the property. That's all. No third offense yet.
Okay. Any questions on the alarm report? So Wayne, just to let you know, we track the false alarms, and there is the bylaw allows us to basically put an administrative fee on the third offense. So that's all tracked by our illustrious secretary. John, did you have a question?
I was just going to let everyone know that we did pass the amendment to the bylaw with regard to 12 consecutive months. The request of the Police Services Board to ensure that we captured people within the time frame of 12 months. That was passed yesterday.
That's great.
Okay.
That's great.
Yep.
Thanks to
So
thanks to Cheyenne for that too. Because go ahead, Wayne. Did you have something?
I was going to say so now it's a 12-month rolling period, right? Is what they changed rather than calendar year. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean,
it makes more
false
sense.
alarms are such a waste of time for the police force. It's you got to try to deter it for the repeat offenders.
Yep. Okay. So motion to accept the false alarm report. Wayne, John, second. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay. You still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. You're blacked out
I
there.
can see you.
Okay. Now, Anne, the Community Policing Committee. What's happening?
Nothing's happening. I'm afraid everything was canceled.
Good report. Okay. Yeah, you're pretty much handcuffed for the
we
short
were
term
all set to
anyway.
go for the home show, and obviously that was canceled. You know, with a few days to spare, and everything else is on hold. So.
Okay. Well, don't have to have a motion for that report, so we'll move on to Sergeant Beaton to tell us all about things in Tottenham.
All right. Well, we're going to go through the report here, and I made some notes this morning. I had a discussion about the report. So the cover page has been changed from what it was previously, and that is to reflect the new objectives with our new commissioner. So similar in many ways, but that our new objectives are focusing on people, work, communities. There have been 3 public complaints in this reporting period. 2 of them were service provided, and 1 was conduct. All 3 have been resolved. There are 2 volunteer firefighters still, myself and Sergeant Mike Moggs. As far as staffing goes, there have been, it's noted here, no transfers in or out. However, we have 3 new recruits who joined us last few weeks. So, we welcome them. They come with a variety of different backgrounds, which is really beneficial to us here. So members on parental leave, Detective Constable Zaborski, Constable Lyons are on parental leave. And we have Jonathan Maselli, who just came back off parental leave and also joined us from Toronto Detachment. He's been with me for the last 3 years and a military police officer prior to that. And Amy Lynn Pitton just came back off maternity leave, so she's back into the swing. The Detachment Initiative is focused on primarily on cyber crimes, and I think it's because a lot of people are staying at home now and using their computers. So there's been a lot of messaging going out in the media from Shannon Gordon here with regards to cyber crimes and the current trends of scams going on. The Festive Riot campaign was reported in the January report. There has been a decrease in the riot, COVID going on and trying to social distance. However, we've received recent training and guidance with regards to conducting rides safely while maintaining the distance. Overall, there's been a 45% decrease in calls for service over the last 6 to 8 weeks. But there has been an increase in our big four, which are domestic, family dispute, neighbor disputes, and mental health calls. And I would believe that that can be attributed to everyone staying at home, a little bit of cabin fever, and the stress going on in people's lives. Emergency management planning, we've been able to utilize parts of our continuity of operations plan, which has included having some of our civilian staff work remotely from home. And we continue to monitor our activities. We've been using the Mono ESO quite extensively as a way to keep ourselves out of the office and people throughout the county. So that's been a big asset for us. Let me go over to our calls for service here. There have been 3 reported sexual assaults in this reporting period. All 3 of them, 2 of them are historical in nature, and one is involved by the complainant declining to proceed. The second historical sexual assault was cleared by charge, and the third was also cleared by charge and involved 2 young people. There are 4 assault charges. One of them was domestic, cleared by charge. 1 assault charge was related to one of those aforementioned sexual assault investigations. One was there was a investigated family dispute, and a charge relating from a domestic dispute.
Hey, Paul, question?
Yes.
If in an occurrence, for example, you charge somebody with both sexual assault and assault, are they showing as 2 separate, or is it counted as one occurrence?
It'd be one occurrence, but just to make the EPR categorize them, they would come up separately. Uniform categories. So you would have
Okay, so
you have coding for a sexual assault and coding for the assault, which will come up in a different. When you
right.
draw a different.
Yeah, it's just it can be when you're looking at stats, it can be confusing sometimes because the amount of actual criminal instances could be a lot less, because if you charge somebody with B&E, you may also be charging them with theft and other offenses like mischief. So to us, it's one occurrence, but there's 3 charges, and therefore it shows up in 3 different boxes.
Absolutely, and that's why we try to go through and explain if they're related, well, if they're interrelated.
Yep. Okay. Carry on.
So the break and enters, I'm going to read Nikki's handwriting here. I'll say one of them is the tool. There were no witnesses. There was no physical evidence, and that was cleared off to our frontline support unit. So that was insufficient evidence to proceed. There was one break and enter where there are 2 suspects. That's an open investigation right now. And sorry, break and enter was one occurrence with 2 suspects, and that's an open investigation. And theft was one of the tools with no business. And there was a second theft. I can't read her handwriting here. It looks like in relation to fraud. Well, that's some clarification. I'll get back to you. I can decipher the hieroglyphics.
Okay, not a problem.
3 theft under 5,000. One was insufficient evidence. See, that was in relation to a gas drive-off. There was an occurrence where it was a theft from a dispute, almost a landlord-tenant dispute, where some items were stolen. And that lined up the charges in that one. And the third was a theft of a puppy, and charges were made. There were frauds. There were 3 frauds. 2 of them had insufficient. And one, there was a criminal charge made. And it almost looks like it says PayPal. I'm sorry, something to do with Apple cards or Apple Pay. So 2 were insufficient evidence, 1 cleared by charge. Mischiefs, 1 was related to an earlier mentioned domestic. The damage to the island conservation area. I believe that was. And the last one was also in relation to another domestic. I'm going through here, or charge with 1. There's no notation of how that was cleared off. I mean, it's just been a simple possession charge. Looking at property crime and other crimes here, they seem to be relatively close on par to what we were experiencing last year at this time. It looks like there's a decrease in property crime, 11.1 to 0%, and violent crimes is a slight increase of 8.3%. The criminal record checks, again, were pretty well on par to where we were at this time. The criminal record checks have been moved to an online process, which is beneficial as to eliminate people have to come to our office in order to have this done until it's time to pick the record check and have identification verified. It reduces that unnecessary trip. But right now, during COVID, we're only processing criminal record checks for essential work, just to try and keep things moving as freely as we can and not to overwhelm any of our staff that are working remotely. So I have Larry Mikowski here with me, and we can go over his stat. There was a bit of a dip compared to the previous year, and I think a lot of our March Madness campaign, which didn't run this year at COVID. So there was a bit of a dip there, but he's out there doing his thing, especially when it comes to stunt driving. I noticed here 11 stunt drivings, and I would speak to where those were. Circumstances.
Yeah, yes, stunt drivers, the people that traffic greatly on the rise. Just me alone, the speeds are really increasing, and a lot of enforcement on the airport roads. So we're trying to keep it back down. As you know, the bikes are up.
Larry, can you lean in closer to the microphone?
Yes,
You're both breaking up pretty bad for us.
yeah, sorry. Yeah, since the COVID-19 hit, the less traffic, the faster people are going. I actually had one 2 weeks ago on Airport Road. The highest I ever had was 204. So I'm averaging 1.5 stunts a day on Airport Road for the last 2 months. So the speeds are really increasing, especially with the bikes. That time of year again on Hockley, but we're trying to keep a look at things.
Okay.
Those are Larry's stats. And I imagine all of you have an electronic copy of this.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. How's our new man doing?
Open the page here. So Rick here, you'll notice his stats here: 33 for February, 45 for March, and I think a lot of that, those numbers are not accurate, and I think that has to do with Rick was unsure of the reporting process locally at our detachment, and that's since been corrected. So I think when you see the next report, those will be sharply increased. And again, that just comes from he was unsure of the reporting process.
How's he doing, Larry?
Oh, he's doing great. He since he's come, he's actually prefers to work more in the afternoon shift. So I'm working the day shift, and he's starting from noon to 10 or 11 every night. So I think we're surprising a lot of people, and they're not used to that enforcement.
Good.
Yeah, Rick's been a great addition. You know, it's very beneficial to have that overlap in the late afternoon or the evening. And he prefers to work from noon until 10. So that's very beneficial for us.
Great. John, question?
Yes, we had a report from our treasurer yesterday that anticipates a significant in PO revenue. And I tried to chime in to suggest that I think it's premature to predict that for a number of reasons. Number one, the addition of the second officer and the impact that that's going to have, as well as the fact, and I think, Larry, you've confirmed this, my sense, my gut feeling is that there's a lot of really, really bad speeding going on out there, and we're capturing it. I mean, it's, I don't know, it's like COVID side effect. It's very troubling. I mean, and people have commented to me that, the more that we've been cooped in, the more reckless we are when we drive. I don't know. Do you have any comments on that?
No, I agree with you 100%. Now, I missed the first part that you said, sir. Did you say the revenue was down? Was that what you said?
Well, the revenue is down for the first reporting period, and it really isn't the COVID period. And what the treasurer did was he extrapolated for the balance of the year, and I didn't I didn't take a lot of comfort from that and basically said, I don't believe it. I think we're going to end up with a year very similar to what we've had. One of the problems is, and this has impacted the revenue, is the almost total shutdown of the courts and shutdown of the court administration. And I've been fairly vocal about this behind the scenes because I think they can be doing a lot more than they're doing to collect fines and to run remote plea courts and that sort of thing. But unfortunately, their POA administration is getting no direction from the judiciary. They're getting no assignment of justices from the judiciary. And as a consequence, all of that has ground to a halt and supposedly won't stop again in early July. So that's impacted things as well. And they should, frankly, they should know better. There are ways of carrying on that they've chosen not to follow.
I agree with you 100%. And as you said, the courts have been closed, and we're setting court dates for serious charges into October. So I think, as you well know, that's going to present another problem with delays and whatnot. So I don't know how that's going to play out.
I'm not optimistic that agents and lawyers are going to make an 11B argument given the COVID situation. So I'm not too worried about court delay, but I am concerned about court backlog and the number of cases that are all going to hit and have to be dealt with as soon as things get back to semi-normal. I don't know anyone in the judiciary who would accept an argument that 11B is legitimate, the so-called delay provisions of the Charter of Rights, given what's all going on. But I am concerned about backlog, and they could have been running resolution courts remotely, and they basically sat on their hands and decided not to do it. And I do not blame our administration for that. That's the problem that they've been confronted with by the judiciary. I don't mind saying that as a former member.
I agree with you 100% on that.
Okay.
So our looking at our numbers, our part
Go ahead.
seem to have decreased steadily over the last few years at this time. However, there is an increase in our Part 3, so I think that speaks to less occurrences, greater offenses. And especially when we're talking about those high speeds where you may not get 2 or 3 speeding tickets, but you'll get one incredible stunt driving. So those are the notes I have and the comments I have. Does anyone have any questions for me, or I could explain anything in greater detail?
No, that's good. I think just the motor vehicle collisions, just give us a quick summary of how bad we're doing this year on that. Looks pretty good, actually. Except the fatal.
Yeah, so I had to apologize. There's 2 charts here. The first one, the second one, for whatever reason, she apologized. She put one away over together. You can disregard that whole page. So collisions appear, property damage collisions seem to be on the decrease, and that could be for just a decrease in traffic. But what I will say is probably due to greater enforcement. That's what we're doing.
Right. Okay. Any questions for the Sergeant Beaton or Constable Mikowski? Okay, motion to accept the OPP report, seconded by Wayne Evans. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Good job, guys. Man, they're very busy in Cal, and I swear that they have like 5 cars on the road on Highway 10 every day down there. So hopefully that should scare people a little bit when they hit Highway 9. They maybe they just know that we don't have as much resources up here. Okay, correspondence. We don't have any, unless I forgot something. Cheyenne?
I know none.
No. Okay, new business. Just a couple things. Um, parking issues at Mono Cliffs, and generally, I've been out on the weekends, and anywhere there's a trailhead or a park, it's just ridiculous. Even Island Lake, they're parking, all over the place for that. So I guess the question was with Mono Cliffs, they got hammered. Was it a couple weekends ago, John, where they were parked on both sides of the road, and the question came up whether.
It was about 3 weekends ago.
Yeah. So,
It's about
Paul,
3
are you
weekends
familiar
ago.
with that? Yeah. Paul, are you familiar with? Are you getting any complaints about parking and related to the parks?
I can say I'm aware of a few complaints of parking when I was working. I think the majority of the complaints come in are people concerned about social distancing while out on the trail, or groups greater than 5. Those seem to be the lion's share
Okay.
we're getting.
Yeah, I guess the one question was on the I guess that's third line there, that whether it's legal for them to park on both sides if they're if they're blocking the movement of traffic.
Yeah, I would like to think that they're interfering with traffic. That would be problematic.
Yeah, John.
I was going to say that there are a couple of issues. One is whether or not the cars are parked in such a fashion as to impede upon the traveled portion of the road. I think our bylaw is very clear that you're not supposed to impede the movement of traffic, and I think it's defined as encroaching on the traveled portion of the road. The second, of course, would be proximity to such things as entrances and intersections. And we would be delighted if part twos were laid in situations that are clear cut.
Okay. So if people are calling in and you guys roll by, you'll enforce if it's required.
Oh, absolutely.
The other item I
I
had
live on the
was more of a question. Yeah.
I live
You
on the
live
third
on
line, and I can attest to the presence of cruisers checking out the neighborhood.
Excellent. The next item was traffic calming methods, and it was really a comment with respect to the mobile speed sign and the positive effect that it has when you dump it on Hockley Road or any of the other roads. People seem to uh, think that it's actually doing something, and it calms the traffic down quite a bit. So, is that Larry that's driving that around, or is it
No,
some other?
it's sort of a group effort. The staff sergeants had conversations with all of us in regards to where we think we should go, and she's been taking advice from everyone on where she should be putting them. But it does seem to be working. You're absolutely right, especially on Hawkland Road.
Yeah. So the more that you can steal it, Larry. Grab it first thing in the morning every day.
Okay.
Okay. Other item here that wasn't on the agenda, but just a note, and it's sort of a thank you to Andrew. I think he's still on there. Um, I've been sending quite a few OPP news bulletins and things through and to Cheyenne, and she's been passing them on right away to Andrew, and they're posted right up very quickly onto the website. And the latest one that I sent through had to do with OPP online reporting, which is a really progressive way of dealing with things. And if you open up the Town of Mona webpage, you'll get a link directly to that report. So the more that we can support the OPP on the town website, the better. And it's Andrew, you guys really have a slick website. I have to go to a lot of other town websites, and I find myself getting lost or the linkage is not working. And you really have a sweet platform there. So congratulations to the staff for that. Okay, any other new business? Don?
To the issue of online reporting, is there any thought being given to online reporting of municipal bylaw infractions to the extent that the OPP has a role or is assuming a role in that realm?
Well, I think that the online reporting could encompass municipal bylaw as well. We put the parameters, crimes not in progress or minor property crimes. So I think that somebody reporting a municipal bylaw would fit that.
I'm thinking of whether there's such a thing as an other category where somebody can go online and it doesn't quite fit the categories that are advertised, but it may be something slightly outside that they can still file a report on.
So I'm not sure about that. That's something I can definitely look into, and myself or Nikki can report back on that.
Okay. And the online reporting, does it require the individual to reveal their name and address?
I'm not sure about that. I haven't been on the user side of the online reporting. So
Okay.
I would imagine it would require there to be some type of tracking.
Mr. Chair, I have one other issue with under other business, if I could raise it.
Absolutely.
And it has to do with events to the south of us and the death of George Floyd. I read with interest the commissioner's messaging on that. The kind of questions that I'm getting are along the lines of whether the OPP, as an example, is rolling out more video in cruisers and video on officers and that sort of thing. I don't know the answer to those questions, and I don't know the effectiveness of it. But given what's occurring in the States, I think it's inevitable that we're going to be posed with that kind of question. And of course, circumstances here are very different than they are in the States. But is the OPP, are you experimenting with it? I know that you've been doing a little bit of cruiser video, but body cams as an example.
So funny you mentioned this. This was a topic that was raised in a teleconference last week with Central Region Command staff. The in-car video was tested at the Toronto and Kenora detachments many years ago. And some of the issues that have come out of that were disclosure, storage, the security of the information. And they were estimating anywhere from 10 to 20 million dollars just in storage alone. So at this point, and I don't know if what's happened recently in the United States will change their direction, but as an organization, they have moved away from equipping officers with body cams or in-car video. I can tell you from my perspective and speaking to a lot of other officers, we would welcome it. I think it's an impartial witness to what we experience.
Absolutely.
But I think there's a huge cost associated with equipping the entire province with that kind of technology right now. I don't know if things will change moving forward. I would hope that we can implement that technology, but as it stands right now, no, that's not on the radar.
Well, if I can comment, you're mentioning an impartial witness is very, very much on point. I worked for 15 years in an environment where everything I did was recorded, and it turned out to be the best friend we had, to the extent that if somebody ever said that we acted inappropriately or we said something that was off-putting or inappropriate, we had a record, and the record is your best friend. So I would just like to say, that I think that the sooner this is investigated, the better. And maybe this is something that we take up with the Solicitor General. But I think that we're going to end up there anyway, and the sooner we start working on it, the better.
Agreed.
Yeah, good comments. Just an old story. When I was on the police department, we initially didn't have bulletproof vests. So a lot of us, for our own protection, went out and bought our own, and we wore our own bulletproof vests. And eventually they supplied them. And I could see officers actually going out and buying their own body cams for their own protection and carrying them. And storage be damned. It's not really necessary to store it, but if you have that evidence on your own person, that's your own protection. But that's not the solution.
So that was the genesis of that conversation, was officers were recording devices. And again, a lot of other issues come into play now. The storage of the data, the security of that confidential information. How is it going to be disclosed? Recording everything, or are you being selective? So from an organization, some grave concerns about risk management by an officer using their own recording device.
Yeah. Very good.
If I
Any
could just
other
add
new
one more
business?
thing,
Yeah.
if I could just add one more thing, storage is cheap and is getting cheaper, and you'll never get around the issue of disclosure. But I think it's worse when the disclosure inquiry results in nothing versus exculpatory disclosure that indicates that you've done your job properly. So I would just add as a caveat, of course, storage is cheap until government gets involved, and then they do a deal where they're paying 8 times what anyone else would to store data.
Yeah, we were faced with that issue at the TTC when we put the cameras on all the buses. That has to be stored as well, but it was a problem. It's solved, and storage, as you say, storage is cheap, and all that is on record. Okay, any other new business? Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn? John and Wayne, all in favor, opposed, carried. Our next meeting will be on September 16th. Not sure what time or on what platform yet, but that's our next meeting. And can I have a motion to confirm the proceedings of the meeting of the Mono Police Services Board that was held today, June 10th? John Creelman, seconded by Wayne Evans. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Anne.
Yep.
And any other? Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Larry. Thanks, Wayne.
Everybody,
Okay,
take care.
thank you.
everyone.
Thanks very much.
Stay safe, everybody.
Cheyenne, I'll look forward to working on the minutes with you. Over and out.
Okay, bye.